Welcome back to Nick Lenz Comic Corner, Classic Known Classics. This is episode number 32, 39, and Doubleshot 31, 33. I got DC traded Marvel trade for you. First up we have is Showcase presents Shazam Volume 1, which had collected issues, it says on here, 1 to 33. Lie! This book lied. It does not collect the first 33 issues. Here's what it actually collects. It collects the first 20 issues, the backup story for 25, and 26 to 33. You're thinking, what happened to 21-24? Well, apparently they're reprints. Yep, those issues are in fact reprints of Golden Age Fawcett stories. 25, of course, was skipped in here. Well, the front story was skipped because of a legal dispute they had over the character Isis. Despite the fact the story was also included in World's Mightiest Mortal Volume 2. Apparently. And it is not collect 30. You're probably thinking you see this book like, wait, this book had 33 issues? Nope. The book had 35. Yep, 35 issues. And here's a fun fact. This book by far, this Shazam volume, was the second longest Shazam book published by DC Comics. The longest being Power Shazam, written by Jerry Ordway, who also actually drew the comic. The first 18 issues, skipping over those because I viewed those already, thanks to reviewing World's Mightiest Mortal Volume 1. Those of you kids who got this book from Plant City Comic Book Store. A comic cafe, that's where I got this one. Yep. So like I mentioned, basically 2024 was a reprint, and of course they had the opening story here. Why they decided not to include the last two issues, I have no idea. It is quite baffling. If I were DC Comics, I would just throw in the last two issues so people can say, oh yeah, we have the whole series in one book. But no, they chose not to do that. So then we have an issue. First we have issue 19. The whole thing is basically about a imp who steals Billy Batts' power to Shazam for evil purposes. Basically, it's an imp who is very annoying. It's like the writer of this book would give Captain Marvel a version of Mixie Misaplik. By the way, this issue was written by Elliot S. Migging, who is pretty much the majority writer for a lot of these issues. Yes, he did basically 19 and 20, 25 is Enos Breed's backup story. And does he do pretty much reading this book? He does. So yeah, that's kind of what he has to deal with issue 25. An imp. The backup story focuses on a Marvel girl with her and Uncle Dudley. Just deal with a threat here, just not really big stuff here. Then we have the Marvel family versus a bunch of sumo wrestlers who basically who is teamed with aliens. Yep, that is kind of the name of the story. It's all about. It's basically, like I said, it's all about the Marvel family. It's basically a story all about them. It's really good. I thoroughly enjoy this one. And then, of course, we skip over 21-25 because, reprints. Basically, the opening story they skip. Yeah, the thing is, the book doesn't even include the cover for issue 25 because it features Isis. So, the bicentennial villain, that's the story for the backup story for 25. We start with Billy fighting out as Captain Marvel fighting against a bear. It's all these horses going crazy. And it turns out it's actually done by the Savannas. Yep. But of course, basically, that they're able to get away. And then for issue 26, you have Captain Marvel versus a dinosaur. Ooh, that's cool. But there is one critical issue here, we'll get to that. So, and it's all of Dr. Savannah's plot. In the case of 27, it's also a plot involved by Dr. Savannah, where it basically involves bringing back historical figures for an issue. In 28, it's Return of Black Adam. Yep, it's Return of Black Adam. You're thinking, like, how long had it been since he last appeared? Well, prior to this very issue, I think the last officially he ever appeared in a comic book was actually in Marvel Family #1, his debut appearance. Which was back in 1945. Yeah. And this issue came out in 1977. So this was actually his first appearance in 32 years. Why? He probably died in his debut appearance. So this is him coming back to life for this one issue. And I think after this, I think next he was featured in the pages of World's Finest as part of their Monster Society of Evil. Yeah. But I always thought Black Adam's a cool character. And then we have where Dr. Sivana has basically worked with Ibeck, who is another one of the villains of Captain Marvel. Actually, he's working with Lucifer. Yeah, and also we have Aunt Minerva. She's basically like another classic Captain Marvel villain. Which this was her first appearance, issue 12 of this very book. Her final appearance actually in World's Finest 282. Yeah, it almost seems like Dr. Sivana was like the main villain here. And then for issue 31, it is mostly put just Captain Marvel, you could say, is throwing his weight around. That's 31. 32 involves, get this, supposedly Captain Marvel fighting Superman, except Superman here is a robot. As for 31, it is basically just fight off against some gang of criminals. These minor characters. Well, apparently under the control of Mr. Mind. Yep, he is the one responsible for this gang. Yep. You're thinking, wait, who the heck is Mr. Mind? Mr. Mind is a classic Captain Marvel villain who has been around since the early years. And 32 also involves Mr. Mind as well. Of course, it involves sports. As the final issue in here, 33 involves Captain Marvel fighting a robot known as Mr. Atom. And this actually is not his debut. This, I think, was his first appearance since the Fawcett run. Excuse me. Yeah, I think this may have been his first appearance since in this time period. And after this, he'll be returned to the pages of World's Finest. And that's kind of the book in a nutshell. It's really good. Good stuff here. I kind of wish they would have included here, but don't worry. I plan hopefully we can review Captain Marvel, World's Finest, Mightiest Mortal Sue, Volume 2. Alright, next up we have is Supreme Power, Volume 2. Powers and Principalities. Written by JMS, artwork by Gary Frank. This book here basically is slowly integrating more at least about 2 more characters into this universe who are commonly associated with the Squadron Supreme. So, and we also have a first interaction. I'm not going to show one character up because she is simply put Marvel's version of. Let's see if I can find it here. She is Marvel's version of Aqua, but more like Aquaman. This one here is debut of Amphibian. Actually made a debut in issue 2. But this issue here pros up a little prominently. And I'm not going to show a bunch of artwork for this one because she is butt naked. You do see a bunch of nudity in this book. You have a diver Caesar and chases after her for a bit. And then she's about to suffocate. Then she's brought to her boat. And because if anybody doesn't speak English, they think she's a threat, so they shoot at her. And then she proceeds to blow up the boat. So Hyperion is sent out to deal with stuff. We do have one important issue of the book where he's like, and then here's the thing. This issue ends with him having his first encounter with another character of the Supreme Power, of the Supreme, Squad Supreme group. This being Prism. Yep, this book ends with his very first encounter with him. Which, like, oh, excuse me, Dr. Spectrum. Yes, this actually is his first ever encounter with him, and then issue 8 is basically these two fighting each other. Which was a really cool idea. The team itself has still not gotten together yet. There's no debut of them yet, but it will debut soon. So basically the whole issue is them, like, they fought, and then of course he has to leave. Then you have Mark confessing what he did to a priest, even though he's not Catholic. And he lights up and is like, "You look tired today." Yep. Have sunset, and of course basically there's a mark on his face, but it doesn't hurt him. Yeah, it just basically comes like a shady mark. And then issue 9 is simply like Mark goes out and smashes more stuff, and he's like questioning, he's doubting it with himself with the government. He's being shot at. Dr. Spectrum's on the ocean floor, possibly healing, and Amphibian seeing him. Yeah, then issue 10 actually debuts a brand new character. You're thinking, what does 10 debut? I think this is her debut. Let me take a look at this one. I think this was her debut appearance here. No, she may be a cameo, but mostly put basically, this is not her first appearance of her. That being, Power Princess. Well, this universe version of Power Princess, if she's not called that here, it's Zarda. Yep, this book is practically her first full appearance in the book. Which, by the way, she shows up first, she's butt naked, and she's so old. So then, of course, we have a young man who gets sort of power absorbed from like life force, and then she restored younger, where she's smoking hot. I'm not going to show the artwork up because she's butt naked. So, and then of course, because of the fact that this older lady mentioned she once had gray hair, presumably she took a life force and allowed her to live longer. Then Dr. Spectre wakes up and sees Amphibian near him. He doesn't really do anything to her per se, and then he just leaves. And then she just lays in this little cocoon he had. Then you have Mark just laying on the ground, covered in blood, and then basically Zarda just picks him up, and then she kisses him, and he gets fully revived. And then Spectrum's like looking for him, and the Spectrum's like a little out of control. So yeah, Zarda, of course, throughout these first couple appearances for her, she is butt naked. She's not wearing anything at all. And Mark, of course, basically like be with her, and mentions the whole thing with the fact that the whole thing was pre-planned, her being a goddess. They mention her, basically this issue is her backstory. So then, of course, basically then we see stuff with Nighthawk in here. Yeah, I think this is, let's see, Nighthawk, this is issue number, I think this is issue 11. Because I don't think Nighthawk made his debut in this one. No, he made his debut early on in this series. It's like, issue 2 is like debut of everybody, but this is kind of in a way the first proper. This is like the first something do something with him. But the Supreme Power, the Squad Supreme group, they don't really do anything in this first issue per se. No. Yeah. Him with Blur, We see him find a bunch of dead bodies, and then move on to issue 12, where after Mark and of course everybody's like debriefing each other. So, and of course, it looks like Mark and Zelda may have a thing for each other, but then he goes off someplace. He, of course, is still butt naked. So then she proceeds to walk into Rome, where she is walking the streets, well, streaking, of course. She'd be normally arrested for this. Where she just walks up, sees a pretty dress, takes it, walks out, smashes some windows, and takes jewelry too, and nobody stops her. Technically, what she's committing is theft. So, basically, she committed three crimes. Well, streaking is not exactly a crime, but basically theft is. So, then she beats some cops up, and then they're all ready, and that probably leads to the group coming together for issue 13 of this book. I love the fact, basically, that the book itself is slowly bringing the group together. This book is also the first appearance of a character who becomes a little more prominent later on. You'd think by issue 12 this will lead to a Squadron Supreme book, but nope, not really. Yeah, if you're really curious, one issue of this book does bring the group's character together as a team. I think it doesn't happen until like the final issue. That's when the team comes fully together. Well, kind of anyways. So it's not until the second volume of Squadron Supreme, also by JMS, which was a relaunch of this book, that is when the team comes fully together. Yep. Oh, and those of you curious, though, about Supreme Power, was this the only volume for Supreme Power? No, there was one more volume of Supreme Power. Except it was a 4-issue limited series. And this book focused on Dr. Spectrum. Yeah, that's the whole thing with the second volume of Supreme Power, is that it's a book not about the Squadron Supreme. It's basically all about Dr. Spectrum. But basically, when it comes to the group themselves, like, he gets the second volume, Hyperion gets his own book, I think Nighthawk got a book. There's a book called Hyperion versus Nighthawk. There's a bunch more stuff related to this universe. But I give Supreme Power Volume 2, Powers and Principalities, a 9 out of 10. It's a good book. I would not recommend it for kids because there's a lot of... There's no swearing in it per se, except there's lots of nudity. Lots of nudity. There's a bit of violence in it, but mostly it's from the max imprint because of nudity. That's simply put the reason for it. I think the violence itself probably, if I can tell, it's pretty tamed compared to books nowadays. Like, there's some blood in it, yes, but they're not over the top with it per se. I can easily see this fit into under the Marvel Knights stuff per se, but Marvel Knights probably wouldn't allow nudity. Yeah, that's my guess anyways. But got a good creative team in this book, and of course, basically when it came to Supreme Power, Squadron Supreme, it did keep the same creative team, JMS and Gary Frank, which was very smart of them to do. Excuse me. Yep. But yeah, that's pretty much a particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Next up, basically, is Case Closed. Okay, thanks, people.